Pleasure to begin with a Peabody Award today for A Question of Fairness, an in-depth examination of one of the most volatile issues in our society today, affirmative action policies in American higher education.
It was April 1st, and the war with Iraq was commanding our attention. But so was this, a demonstration outside the U.S. Supreme Court, and the historic arguments going on inside. Two young women in Washington that day were at the center of this epic conflict, for their young lives had been defined by the issue of affirmative action.
I'm Jennifer Gratz.
One, Jennifer Gratz, was a central player in the dispute. 8 years earlier, she had been denied admission to the University of Michigan. That other young woman outside the court was Monique Luce. At the time, the former University of Michigan student government president and White House intern was only weeks away from graduation at Michigan.
So it's not something where you're taking somebody's spot or, no.
But protesting Jennifer's lawsuit and defending affirmative action had become the cause and passion of this 21-year-old.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present the first Peabody of the day to my friend and colleague, Tom Brokaw. And Tom, they told me I could give you a hug, so.
Thank you all very much. When I was told that I'd won a Peabody, I really thought it was deferred recognition for what happened to me almost 40 years ago when I was a new anchorman at WSB in Atlanta, and I was offered 2 tickets to the Dogs at home playing the University of Alabama. The tickets were on the Alabama side. Meredith and I were 2 Yankees sitting in the Alabama cheering section, going hard for the Dogs, who won that game in a memorable upset. But I am now told that, in fact, that this Peabody goes not for showing that kind of bravery, but for working on a documentary called A Question of Fairness, about one of the great issues before us, about how we resolve the question of race in our society. I want to begin by saying congratulations to all the other winners, because these are important issues that we're dealing with that you saw on the big screen here today, and especially to Neil Shapiro and David Corvo for giving us the go-ahead on what they knew would be a difficult and complex issue. I was assisted in more ways than I can describe for you by Mark Rosenwasser, who was our kind of godfather on this project, but especially by Geraldine Moriba-Meadows, who was there day in and day out, getting the interviews lined up and helping me walk through the swamp of affirmative action. Catherine Chang and Vanessa Rhee, Bruce Berger, and Andy Finklestein were also critical of the success of this program. But finally, it was race in many ways that got me into broadcast journalism in the first place, because when I was a young man coming of age, it was the first great story of television news, the civil rights movement. And 50 years later, as we are now acknowledging Brown versus Topeka Board of Education, it remains one of the great unresolved issues of our society, and those of us who are in this business especially have an obligation to our viewers and to ourselves to never take our eyes off the role of race in our society and how we can use our medium to find common ground for all people. Thank you all very much.